So we're currently in a cold civil war, which is also another way of saying it's a social civil war. It's friend against friend, colleague against colleague, parent against child. And we're seeing the social fabric being frayed, where we can't connect and cooperate with the people who we love most because of politics. So that's why it's called the Second Civil War, is because we actually are in a social civil war. Now, some people desire a hot war. They want to actually see violence and fighting in the streets. And let me share with you the following. The first Civil War, 620,000 troops died. Another 100,000 civilians died. Upwards of 750,000 people died, which was 2.3% of the population back then. If we extrapolated that to today, that'd be 7.25 million people today. Now, also what I'll tell you is this, is 90% of civil wars end with genocide. Our first Civil War didn't, but most civil wars end with wholesale slaughter of other people. So if you're somehow thinking that violence is the solution to this problem, I'm here to share with you, logically, that does not play out. We will not rebuild, regain, and come back to where we are right now. You are basically taking all of your interests, whatever you want for the outcome, putting it into a blender. And you might be, even if you win, I assure you, the issues you went in with fighting over it's going to be a different set of problems on the way out. Violence is not a solution to this war we're in right now.
Now, somebody who studied this as much as you have, do you see it potentially going down that path?
Not really. I mean, we did see 32 deaths last year as a result of politics. It happened at riots, happened because of shootings and or bombings. So that was 32, which is awful. There's been about 12 this year because of political reasons. And we will continue to see things like this, where we have riots, protests go violent, shootings, bombings, people taking cars and slamming it into people. Yeah. But do I actually think we're going to have wholesale violence in the street where we have two armies meeting each other? I don't think so. The main reason is the business of America is business. And so I don't think big business is going to be spending any money. They're pretty smart about that. They're not going to be spending millions of dollars to fund one side or the other. The business has stayed on the sidelines of this largely, and basically says, we want to conduct business. We don't want to have any part of this political battle. Oh, sorry, we have some part of the political battle, but we're doing it by proxy. We'll give you some money, but we're not going to be getting involved in mounting armies and trying to divide the country. It's not in their interest.
Yeah. So what do you have any tips for somebody who they're in the part? By the way, I've had many of these conversations with friends. I keep my cool. We just have the conversation. Now, by the way, this would be a different conversation 3 to 5 years ago. I wasn't the person who kept my cool. I've done a lot of work to get to become the person I am today. But with that being said, do you have any tips of somebody? Because I've made up excuses in my head for some of the stuff you said. Right. Like, and I can't recall, but I was like, oh yeah, well, then they're going to say this. We've had deaths because of this, and that's due to this party. We had this because of this. And that's like, they'll immediately start to go on the defense. So what can somebody do internally to reset their own struggles, their own worries, their own whatever, whether it be, something as simple as meditation or whatever? What are some things they can do?
Well, we mentioned one earlier, which is to realize that if you hate half of America or you think one party is evil, you're being played for a fool. And as soon as you realize you're being a pawn on someone else's chessboard, that's kind of a motivator to go, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being a victim here. Because when you look at the polling on every issue you can possibly imagine, minimum wage, climate change, even abortionists, divisive abortions, gun rights, you poll Americans, both liberal and conservative, and there is between 70 and 90% agreement, consensus on policy.
Yeah.
So we agree on policy. The second we get into fights is we say, well, I'm a Democrat, so I agree. I want this. And as soon as we bring in the tribes into it, all of a sudden we are at odds with one another. The real important insight is to think about this. Who's winning? So when we watch a television show and that television show vilifies either another American or another group of Americans, who wins? And the answer is not your party and not them. I mean, it's kind of like taking a knife and having your right hand cut your left arm and think your right arm is now winning. I mean, it's insane. So the only people who win when you either pay money to a television show or a podcast or a radio show or an article that vilifies other Americans, or when you vilify other Americans, the only people who win are this: Russia, China, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea. The only people who win are our rivals. The world desperately needs our leadership. There is a power vacuum at the top of the world order that's keeping peace and stability and solving problems where America used to be. But because we are spending so much time vilifying ourselves, we are not able to be on the world stage. And China is going to waltz right in. So as soon as you realize about the least patriotic thing you can do is vilifying another American or watching a show that does, it usually cuts that behavior right out.
I love that. And it's so true, because I'm watching it all from afar, kind of in it, but I'm watching it from afar and I'm going, this is just burning our country to the ground, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And
we've all seen those riots before where people burn their own local stores and they burn their own neighborhoods. That is exactly what we do every single time we attack another American or watch the advertising on a show that vilifies other Americans.
Here's what I worry about. I worry about our politicians and our media continuously driving us further and further apart.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this book is a gateway to begin to fix that. But what else can we do collectively for people who go, okay, they've listened to this conversation, they've checked out your book, this all makes sense? How do we continue to spread this word and this message to be like, look, it's not me against you, it's us against
our problems,
evil, the problems. Yeah.
It's exactly it. So yeah, you've gotten independent, you've read my book, and you've shared my book with some other family member. Almost every single person here has got a family member who lives and dies by their a couple cable channels and some hate radio. And they listen to it on the way to work. They come home and they sit in front of it for a couple hours. And then they get up and do the same thing over and over again. And the only thing they can talk about is how evil either side is. And one of the first chapters in my book is called Politics is a New Religion. And by the way of the word religion, I'm not talking about a spiritual practice. What I mean by religion is way of life. And if you really look at the way politics unfurls itself on our cable news, it's more like professional wrestling. Every single day we have new heroes and new villains. There's new fighters who have been slayed. We have the seers, which are the commentators who help us understand what we're seeing. We have the pastors, which are the newscasters, basically telling us whether it was good or bad, why we're right and they're wrong. It's creating this Machiavellian landscape. Machiavellian basically means good versus evil. And if you understand the world, you realize nobody is that good and nobody is that bad. There is a whole world of gray. And so we give up this good versus evil mindset when we stop watching the news. And it happens, one person at a time, leaving this civil war and realizing how futile it is.
Yeah.
If you are more committed to national unity than partisanship, please check out my book, The Second Civil War, A Citizen's Guide to Healing Our Fractured Nation. My book will challenge you to improve your relationships with friends and family. Click the link in the description below.